Have you ever wanted to get inside the mind of a professional athlete? Well, if you enter Jess, you're going to love this podcast because today I sit down with Claudia Nielsen. Now, you may not know Claudia's name yet. However, she just clicked what is probably the fastest Bronco time in NRLW history. And if you're not familiar with the Bronco, she goes on to explain it anyway, but it's a fitness test, about 1.2 Ks. I think there's about 30 turns involved in that. You're going to have to listen to find out a time. But either way, I've worked with Claudia for about 9 years now. And in this podcast, we break down how she thinks now, how she thinks when she started, what keeps her ticking, and how she went from a small town country girl playing hockey into playing in the big leagues in NRLW. So strap in. Claudia's great. I love working with her, and I hope you get some nuggets out of this podcast. So today I have Claudia Nielsen on the podcast, and today we're going to get inside the mind of what is unofficially the fittest woman in NRLW. Now, that might be my title that I'm offering, but it's off the back of a exceptionally quick Bronco time. Now, firstly, Claudia, thanks for jumping on. Thanks for giving your time.
No worries, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. You're currently playing for West Tigers. I've known you for a few years. And before we get into the juice of today's podcast, and really what I want to use today for is to help ask some self-reflective questions for you. I've got some questions that will help really unpack around the way you think about your training, what got you to where you are today. But really at the same time, it's helping the audience, I would suggest, answer those questions for themselves as well. And before we get into all that, what I would love to know, what's a Bronco?
Oh, it's just fun. It's pure fun. But strictly it is 1.2 Ks in a shuttle test. You go 20 meters out, 20 meters back, 40 meters out, 40 meters back, 60 meters out, 60 meters back, 5 times.
Five
I
times,
think there's
1.2.
30 turns in it. I think the girls have calculated how many turns are in it.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, lots of
Yeah,
turns, lots of fun. Fast as
delicious.
you can.
Right. Very good. As fast as you can, which was what time?
4 minutes, 44
Yeah, right.
seconds.
Okay. So for reference sake, I mean 1.2 Ks in 4:44 is a decent time anyway, but trying to change directions. Um it's an average time, but trying to change directions, what did you say? 30 times?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's at least 30 turns. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty standard fitness test, what I believe, within probably different sports, but definitely with NRLW and NRL in general. And if there's any faster times out there in NRLW, then by all means, reach out and I'll adjust the within a timeline, adjust the name of the podcast. But regardless, what I want to get into today, and I've known you for probably about 9 years now, and I've seen progression along that period of time, and we've done a lot of work through that period of time as well. And it's really about unpacking like what goes on in the inner game of Claudia, both when you look at something like fitness training, but when you're performing at a high level as well. And so the Bronco is simply just I guess, a context of us going, that's a look, I'd like to think, but I ain't running a 4:44. That's for damn sure. And even when I looked at it, I looked at it with you with ChatGPT before. It's like that still sits elite for men. So, at the time. So kudos to you. And I've seen your hard work over the years as well.
Thanks, Dave.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'll run it with the boys next time, maybe.
That's a good
See
idea.
how we
I actually
go.
want to see how that goes. So, given all that, and before I've got a few questions that I want to run through, I want to be able to keep this short enough, but also comprehensive. So, before I get into that, give me a bit of a background. I know you didn't start in rugby, but I also know that you didn't grow up in Western Sydney. So, what's the Claudia Nielsen timeline from sort of where you grew up to where you are now?
Yeah, I grew up in Tamworth, which is central north New South Wales. And I think our paths intersected when I was in Perth. In between, I was in Canberra, which is a lovely place, too cold for me. And yeah, then I went to Perth, played hockey originally. Tamworth's a pretty big hockey place and had some really great mentors in that space from home. So I was chasing that dream for a while. Perth's where hockey is really strong. They used to have the Aussie teams based over there. I think they're somewhere else now, but their Premier League is really strong, so it drew me over there. Um, so I was just studying alongside. playing hockey, and then I didn't have anything to do over the summer, and I watched my friend trial for the Western Force, and yeah, they're a Super Rugby franchise, so rugby union, and I think they were short a player, and the coach was like this Kiwi fella, and then he said, "Can that skinny white girl play on the wing?" And so my friend gave me her boots, and yeah, and I said, "What do I do?" And she goes, "Make your tackles and don't drop the ball." So I literally like did that trial, and then yeah, made the team and played for them for a couple of years, and yeah,
Yeah, right.
then my journey just snowballed from them to sevens and now to league. Yeah,
There you
and
go.
here I am.
And so,
Concord,
what
Western
yeah,
Sydney.
is that Concord, Western Sydney? Um, and what was the transition from union to league?
Yeah, so I made the transition and like last year for last season, so it's actually quite kind of new for me. Seven sets you up very well in terms of your game smarts and skills. You know, the passes are long. Everyone has to be able to throw left to right. You have to have a bit of an engine to run high speed over and over again. So the skill set was there, but then league is it's quite raw. It's very much a grind game. You need to earn territory meters, run straight, no running sideways in league. It's very much you got to earn the right, bash the front door down. So last year was all about learning that, and I'm really loving it and learning to be a tough outside back. They love outside backs that take the carries. There's some people that have shaped that element of the game, and you know those really strong nuggety outside backs have sort of taken over that league space for centers and wingers. So yeah, seeing that in the women's game and inserting myself into that model of player is where that transition is for me at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
So
And what about leaving hockey behind?
yeah. It was a quick decision, I suppose. I thought I'd really miss it, and I think there was one day of mourning, I suppose,
Yeah,
because
right.
I'd spent uh yeah, 6 or so years really focusing and knuckling down on hockey and played indoor hockey for Australia and things like that. And I loved indoor hockey. It's sort of like the foot sort of soccer, fast and
Yep.
yeah, pretty ferocious version. But nah, footy suits me. It's a really good culture in most teams I've been in, and it's physical. So I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. So look, given that background there, and I met you like you mentioned in Perth, and you were playing hockey. You're at uni at that point. You're still at uni. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what are you studying?
Vet science, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine at Sydney Uni.
So does that mean we're going to be seeing Dr. Claudia on the football field?
Yeah, you have to call me that.
This is fantastic. So, very good. So yeah, you're not short of a full schedule, no doubt. So I met you there you're at uni. You're playing hockey. We did a lot of work through what, from my end, is called developmental coaching, which is understanding how we structure our thinking, why we do that sort of stuff, and seeing any sort of mental blocks. From there, you and I have spent a bit of time, especially with like our immersions that we run with BossFit, which is really understanding how the way that we think, the way that we breathe, the way that we relate to our nervous system all interrelate, and how to sort of show up and do that. And so it's been a joy to watch you progress and own your career and the way that you've taken it. And so today I'm really keen to get into what's changed for you along the way and what are the golden nuggets, which I'm sure some things may come up that you may not have considered too much in the past. But to get started, what I would love to know is what part of you had to evolve, like not to evolve the most, not physically, but mentally for you to perform at the level you're performing at?
It's already a tough question to start with. I feel I guess I want to caveat with it that I'm still evolving. So I
You
find
haven't completed
answering
it?
it's a little bit clouded. But the biggest thing for me was whatever I do in sport, whether it is hockey or union or league now, that it comes from this just inherent love for what I'm doing. As soon as that shifts in any space, there's an inauthenticity about it. So for me, that manifests as really loving training. Like I love all the hard over the preseason, the pre-preseason, the off-season, because it's still footy and it relates to just loving what I'm doing. So mentally tying the things I do without not to like outcomes of selections or being better than someone else. I think the biggest evolving was I don't need to be better than someone else. I just need to be so much more or continue to be as fully invested in whatever I'm doing day to day. And, that's like breaking it down to the minute, like what's important right now in this recovery session or in this like hard con session or speed and or skills. Like I love small group skills sessions because you just get reps on reps of exposure of focus to one
Mhm.
task. And then it just, yeah, it feeds into having really great seasons. But yeah, as soon as I felt like in any space, as soon as I waver from that, and it becomes about even yeah, winning or I don't know, trophies and those sort of things, I start to lose my way and lose my passion, and
Mm.
then it feeds into performance. So yeah.
So I love that. A couple of things that I noticed even before we jumped on recording, like I talked about the Bronco with you, and you're like, lucky it's fun. You said lucky it's fun, and then even when we jumped on here, you said it was fun. It's sort of tongue in cheek, but you still coded it that way. And then even then, you were talking about loving what you're doing. And one of the things I've noticed with you is that these things that probably look like work to other people almost are coded to you as like play. It challenging, yes, but almost like play. So, how important is it to you that you love what you do in order to perform the way you perform?
Yeah, I think it's the baseline of it all. Yeah. I I think it's I'd say the single most important thing that it is something that I enjoy and as I think the hardness of it I guess I've had this conversation with you, like what's hard. Sometimes these conversations are harder than me going out and running a Bronco or tackling a middle forward.
Sure.
So I suppose what I find comfortable is yeah, the physical, the hard work in a physical sense on the field. So yeah, enjoying it and then also leaning into the hard elements of it that might not be physical. And that's, maybe that's game analysis or watching footage of a game that didn't go well for the team or for myself. Like so yeah, enjoying it's important. Yeah, I guess the baseline is that enjoying it is really important to me. And that comes with I think I read it the other day, like having a being in the middle ground where, you're not getting affirmations of what you're doing is right and you getting external rewards, but being in that ground where you're still working hard, but you're not seeing progress. Where I'm at now is like enjoying that middle ground as well. So I guess all the work I do is, yeah, directed towards, yeah, finding love in it. And I'm sorry if that's a bit convoluted, but
Fantastic. So, given all that, like, what story about yourself did you have to outgrow or to, and sometimes it's not outgrowing, and the words that I would normally use is like, how, like, kind of like let go of in order for you to perform at the level that you're performing?
Mm. One thing is, and it even came up with our call today, like being feeling ready to do what the task is. So I guess it comes down to like feeling prepared for the game or for selection or to be a West Tiger. Like sometimes you just have to do it. And I think your phrase for it is like to be a grandmaster, you must first be a grandmaster. Like so you have to being living up to what you aspire to be and living up to your potential starts with just living up like living it and not
Yeah.
waiting till you feel ready to live it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's what I had to outgrow was, okay, I'm going to train my ass off so that I'm ready to be an NRLW player. It's like, actually, no, you're an NRLW player now. What, like, you already are enough now to go and do it. So just go and do it, I
Yeah,
guess.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. So yeah, black belts don't get given, you don't get given a black belt, then you become one. You get given a black belt because you are one. Yeah. So it's almost like, and this is something that I've repeated more recently to both a lot of my writings and work that I'm doing, is that you have to own your future energetically before you own it in reality. And a lot of the time, people are wanting to, progress, which is fantastic for human beings in general, but they think that there's going to be a jersey or a belt or a certificate given to them, and then they'll somehow be that thing. Whereas those things are simply reference points along the way of the evolution of becoming becoming that. So yeah, um, I love that. So you would say that basically the shift of going, no, I don't have to do this to be that. I am that, and that's why I'm doing this.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what story are you still telling yourself that might be holding you back?
Hmm. Um, I suppose a story that I hold on to is um not being a flashy player. And that I'm just a grinding player and that what I contribute is in a way never going to be like, yeah, whatever flashy looks like and whatever that is. But then I think, an evolution for me is that uh yeah, that what is being a flashy player, but like then again I can bring whatever I can bring more than I think I can to the table. Um
How you
yeah,
doing there?
and I'm not going good.
It's good to see you. Keep going.
Um To be honest, one big thing is being an older player. And I even started every sport that I have from an older age, and that's relative, of course. But like, even when I was playing hockey in Tamworth, I wasn't in the rep sides from 16, 11. I think a lot of the New South players that are now hockey roos now, for example, that in my friendship group there, um, so I was a late bloomer, and so I'm always like, oh, I'm a bit older. And now I think, apart from Kezi, we're probably the oldest players in the squad. But then knowing that that's okay and that comes with uh, a new territory, I suppose, like coming into NRLW at late 20s doesn't mean that there's not a great career on the back of that and that there's still physical attributes I can bring and this experience that comes from 10 years training age that is so unique that perhaps a young player might not bring along and that we can complement each other
Mm.
to be a fantastic team. So yeah, I
Yeah.
guess age is a big one that
So
I'm
my
coming
hearing
to
in,
terms with. Yeah.
especially around like the grinding player and that sort of concept as well, my hearing in that it's like a particular identity that you associate with that is what still holds you back to some degree. There's a story around that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The idea that I'm just a player that works hard. I don't have the skills now, but I will rep on them until I have them, but
Yeah. And is that similar
that's
to the
not necessarily
grandmaster
true.
concept as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think it's like if I do a thousand on thousands of reps, then I can be a grandmaster. But yeah, that's just what I tell myself. I don't know if that's true. And
Yeah.
questioning that is probably where I'm at. Yeah.
Hmm. Great. So what does performance look like for you now compared to 5 years ago when you think of performing?
Um, I suppose I'm kind of borrowing this from a camp that we recently did, but we did camp with this team called Testing the Limits, or Testing Limits Together, sorry. And they spoke to that you're not always going to feel great. Like you can't come in. There's just days, you haven't had that greater sleep, or um, yeah, there's external factors, I guess, coming back to, the surfer concept,
Yep.
that I can't control. So just being able to be consistent. Okay, things have happened, but I'm still, as soon as I walk over that line or go to training, like I rock up and I give everything that I have to that, and just consistency. So I think different from 5, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have ever thought about consistency and just showing up every day
Right.
in a performance sense. I would have showed up, I suppose, but now it's about, okay, there's an element that, no matter the conditions, there isn't an excuse to just be consistent. Yeah.
And when you say, are you referring to, and I'm inferring it a little bit here, are you referring to like consistent, like mental approach and then your application thereof, like a physical application,
Yeah.
as
Yeah, I
opposed to
reckon so.
just consistent as in punching the card and just rocking up? You're actually showing up.
Yeah, I reckon
Yeah.
that's it. Like mentally being, yeah, being absolutely focused and immersed in it. Yeah, no matter what.
Yeah.
And not, um, yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
then
Cool.
hope that feeding into just being 100% at training or at a game in
Yeah.
that moment. Yeah.
Now, being 100% at the training or at the game, does that mean that you're giving your 100%, or like I could infer it in certain ways? But when you say that, so you're there 100%, and you know there are all these external factors, sleep and so forth. So maybe someone's 100% is not always available. So how do you actually approach that?
I think, yeah, it's a tough one.
Is it a matter of you showing up 100% and then giving whatever you've got? You're emptying the tank. That it's almost like you get in a hire car and there's 75% of the petrol left. And so you just got to, that's what you've got to work with. So you work with that. And there's other days the tank's full and off you go, but you show up regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. That whatever I have to give, that's what I give. And yeah, and then it's about, then I've met myself absolutely to what I have to give, and I've contributed maximally. And in that way, then it's closing the loop in a way of the, I guess the phrase that often gets used is like leave it all out there kind of thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, if I meet whatever I have to give on that day, then yeah, I know that I've shown up consistently, because there hasn't been any, um, I haven't looked to cut corners, or I haven't take shifted my focus because that's the easy way out, or at the time it's um yeah, the easy thing to do. And sometimes the easy thing to do is to be hard on myself. And like sometimes I am very critical of myself, and I'm coming to learn that that's just because that's easier for me to be critical.
Mm,
And it's the hard thing is going, hey, actually, like you are trying, you didn't, whatever error you made, that wasn't deliberate. There was absolute effort in that. So,
okay.
yeah, realizing that being critical is, it's not being hard on myself and hard, it's actually the easy thing to do. And it's a
Mm.
pattern that I run. And yeah.
And so what's changed for you in changing that? Hey there, if you're enjoying this content, I know you're going to love my free training. I run a free 90-minute workshop. It's called the Peak and Flow Workshop, and I'm going to teach you the 3 key frameworks that I use with my high-performing clients that helps them perform under pressure, build a calm mind and a strong body for good, and more importantly, be present in the moments that matter. So if you're interested, you want to jump on, there should be a link in the description here. 90 minutes free training. I'm going to teach you those 3 key frameworks. We're going to do a bit of a workshop to make sure it's practical for your life, and you'll have some key takeaways to use straight away. Let's get back to the video.
It's actually, what it's changed for me is conscious effort. Where I'm at the moment is like conscious effort to be compassionate and uh less self-critical for the betterment of myself as a player, and also like the leader I want to be.
Yeah.
And it actually stemmed from, I think I was listening to a podcast, and it was like merging Star Wars themes with like psychotherapy and stuff. And
Right.
what the quote was, is the dark side for any Star Wars, I love Star Wars, is the dark side, there's a light and dark in Star Wars, and is the dark side more powerful? And then Yoda, who's like the master of Jedi, he said, no, no, um, easier and more seductive. So like
Yeah,
what's more seductive and easier at the time is like, oh, swearing, vocally swearing, beating myself up, going silent so my teammates know that I'm mad at the error. Well, actually, what is like the light side or the better thing to do would be, you know, forget it quickly and like fail fast. So then,
yeah,
I can then be ready for the next task. Like what's important now? Bit
yeah. I love that.
convoluted.
Yeah, a big part of look high performance, and I think you and I talked about this yesterday. High performance fundamentally comes down to high presence. So kicking and spewing about a mistake means that you're not present, which means you're susceptible to more mistakes. Um,
Yeah.
and learning the positive intention behind that, which could be so that the team see that I'm upset about that, so that they, are nicer to me or empathetic or whatever. It's like that becomes a whole spiral and so forth. So outgrowing that is a profound, just has a profound gap in performance long term because it stacks on present moments, on present moments, on present moments, and that's where people will develop their potential from. So love that and love the Star Wars analogy. You mentioned another analogy before. You said the surfer, right? And I don't know if there's any waves in the galaxy of Star Wars. I actually never got into it, but you said the surfer. Now I could describe the surfer. I've done podcasts on the surfer, but I want to hear in your words for people following along. And I know you wrote it on your wrist straps. Didn't get a tattoo. Didn't fully commit. Fair enough. But you wrote it on your wrist wraps last year. So in your words, when you say the surfer, what are you referring to?
Yeah. So directly referring to your podcast and what you spoke to. But my interpretation of it is, well, the quote is, "You're the surfer, not the wave." So the wave is everything I out of my control. And again, to quote you, like what I can control is my actions, behaviors, thoughts, and speech, and everything else I can't control. So in a footy sense, that's my opposition, the weather, the crowd, what people say to me, whether the tone they say it in, like that's none of that's in my control, but everything in my control as the surfer, surfing, which is the actions, and then anything around my behaviors, thoughts. So yeah, it just keeps me really grounded. And yeah, it's something I carry as a theme in life outside of footy
Yeah,
as well. And yeah, I just love it. I just resonated with it. But as someone who ties myself a lot to the external, it just empowers me to be really internally focused.
yeah,
And in that sense, yeah.
yeah, great. And so, what keeps you going when no one's watching?
Hmm. Keeps me going. I guess it will come back to just a real inherent enjoyment for what I do. And it's hard to say that because in the middle of summer and I've got to run shuttles in 40-degree heat and no one else is there to cheer me on. Like that's it. It's not like I'm jumping out of the car to do that, but there's something about it that I just inherently carry that I just love, even though at the time it's really tough and I'm almost like dreading it. And I think all athletes or anyone who's active, whether, yeah, people that run marathons or do CrossFit comps or you just go to the gym every day, you have that feeling of, oh, I've got to go to the gym today. It's going to be hard. But then, yeah, there's just something I love about doing it, even though it is tough. So, what keeps
What
me going when
meaning
no
have you
one's watching?
attributed to doing something that's tough?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. The meaning I've attributed. Um, I'd say that it's the pathway or the window to potential or something like that.
Right. So leaning into the hard work is like a pathway to potential.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. And there's almost nothing but full presence then. Yeah.
mm. Okay. Love it. Has there been times in your past where you've felt like you're not enough?
Yeah. A lot of the time, yeah, every day. But I guess as I mature, maybe it's questioning why I think that and what
Mm.
that serves for me.
Mhm.
So,
And
yeah.
what's an insight you've found over the years in relation to that?
Um, that, well, nothing is gonna make me enough that I don't already have. And in any way, feeling that I'm not enough doesn't, um, it doesn't help me grow and it doesn't help anyone else around me lift and grow either.
Mm.
So again, it sort of comes back to being self-critical about errors at training. Like it's the easy thing to do. Yeah, get mad at myself. But what's the harder thing to do is believing that I'm enough. But then with hardship and tough things, I think that's where the growth is. Yeah. So it kind of comes
Okay.
full circle in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So in that case, like when you feel like you're not enough, what allows you to return back to that knowing?
I think I just keep moving forward. Yeah. And like by doing that, that's, yeah, that's enough. Just taking the next step forward, I suppose. Anytime that I've felt really stuck is in a state of like there's where there's no inertia and momentum, but that comes from, me taking a step forward. So
Mm.
yeah, it sounds like oversimplistic, but
By taking action.
the not enoughness can be fleeting. And if I just take another step forward, then, you know, I'm back in back in the game, back in the moment. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what's a small daily habit, like a door, small a door, it could be a door. What's a small daily mental habit that makes a big difference for you, especially when it
Uh,
comes to training?
I love like every day wake up and get a coffee. Always buy my coffee because I love someone else to make it for me. That's what makes it delicious.
Just keeping people in jobs. I love it.
Yeah. And, you know, my finances take a hit, but it's an investment.
Yep.
And yeah, journaling. And I definitely learned that from being a part of, all the iterations from, the flow community and what it was before that, Alpha Theta and
Hmm.
the old mood prep days. Yeah.
Oh,
So
mood prep
journaling every
days.
day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for you journaling, does it have a consistent structure or does it change from day to day? What does journaling look like for you?
Yeah, I don't have a structure. I love, yes, like just I'll write down a question that I heard that came from, yeah, podcasts or something, and they'll just journal to that question,
Mm.
and answer it with whatever capacity. Some days it's just, oh, I did this and that, but I think just the act of writing, like self-expression, I enjoy as well. But yeah, the deeper I can go with like challenging questions, like the Cartesian questions or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and just reflect on that for sure.
Great. And how has
Yeah.
that helped you in relation to your training?
Helps me set intentions for upcoming training, and I guess it helps me unpack the training from the night before because yeah, I usually do it in the morning. And yeah, just I guess practicing that self-expression, it just helps me then the next opportunity that I have for self-expression or also yeah, I guess just going deeper into events and thoughts that I've had in previous training and
Yeah.
in games. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when in that case, when getting them out and when writing them down, what's your experience with those same thoughts? So if you had a day where you didn't do that compared to a day when you did, what difference does it make?
Yeah. What difference does it make? I don't know. In a way, there's a like a lightness and that I get when I actually like write something out, and maybe a detachment almost
Hmm.
from what I've said. So it becomes less emotive and more just thoughts and trains of thought. Uh, so if I don't get them out, then I guess there starts to be like a cloudiness, and yeah, lack of focus
Mm.
in the days that I don't. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
just a good ritual. I love the routine of it.
Yeah. Someone else making a copy. Love it.
Yeah.
So, there's a lady called Julia Cameron, and she's got The Artist's Way. I'm actually yet to read the book, but funnily enough, I caught up with a teacher from high school. And I haven't spoken to this teacher um, for over 20 years, but I realized I actually was applying something she taught me in just like I was about to write something out, and I was like, I'll just Google it. And I'm like, no, 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 write it out from what I remember and then look at it afterwards so I can practice pulling from my memory bank rather than just relying on technology. And I was like, oh, Miss Stroud taught me that. And so anyway, I was like, dunked on, had a look. I was like, I wonder what Mrs. Stroud's up to now. And reached out to her to say, look, a lesson you shared with a young student when he was 13 has stuck with him and has played actually a big role in his career. And she's a writer now, and based on some stuff we were talking, she mentioned Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way, but because she has an exercise called morning pages. And I share this because it's something that I do. And sometimes it's 1 page, sometimes it's 5 pages. She says to do 3 pages. And it's from a creative standpoint. But what it is, and the term I love more than anything, is a brain drain. And so it helps to remove this concept of I need to journal a particular way. And all you're doing, it's just like um, the the water that washed all the dishes last night is still in the drain each morning. And before you go and make food and go about your day, you just need to drain that sink, clean out all the dirt, make sure it's all nice and clean, and then you're good to go for the day. But if you don't, it festers. And so this brain drain is no rules to it outside than just right. Um, and it's just like, as far as journaling is concerned, it really is. If the person struggles with journaling, it's like, we'll start with I struggle with journaling. Just keep going. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you said, you've got some action. You're in the game. Let's go. I'm writing. So yeah, I love that journaling is a big part of that. And I love that someone getting your copy, making your copies as well. That's
Good.
good. So
Recommend.
yep, indeed. So how do you know then when you're in flow? Flow is another big conversation, stuff that I talk to a fair bit. But for you personally, and it's a big conversation around sports as well, and there's different ways you can go about it. But for you personally, how do you know when you're in flow? And the second part of that question is, how do you return to it when you're not?
Mm. Yeah. Again, something that I'm working working to integrate. I guess the hardest thing is for me personally, as someone who likes to try hard, the harder you try, or harder I try, the harder, like, there's no flow. So as soon as I'm thinking about flow, it's gone.
Yeah,
So, um,
it's a great insight.
yeah, yeah, it's just, I guess it's about like how I approach the moment, whether, yeah, a game, training. If I just want to be fully there and focus on like the little micro details of what's written on the ball. Like for Lee, it's a Steeden. So sometimes I'll be doing high ball catches as a winger, bit of a big part of the game and scary part of the game because, it's high errors. So that's when I like to, yeah, see how I can integrate flow. So what I try and do is micro focus on something on the ball and forget about, oh, what happens if I catch it? What happens? Where are my feet? What are my arms
Yeah,
doing? I kind of try to already have those body position things like consciously done and practice to a point where like when I'm actually hardball catching, that becomes muscle memory and then I'm just focused on something small
like a
and
micro
almost something
detail that's
irrelevant.
happening in, yeah, a micro detail that's happening in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. The
yeah, which
redness of
actually,
what's on the skin.
Yeah, right. Which actually brings you into the current moment, which is where flow occurs. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Good. Love that. And so, what when in that case, when you catch yourself trying or focusing on, like you mentioned, not doing something or a body position, how do you bring yourself back?
Bringing myself back, I still find hard, but definitely to wash like the distraction away. Like a lot of comes back to breath work. So like taking a deep breath and then a longer exhale than inhale.
Mm,
Often that'll bring me back at least to the moment, and then I will then go back to a micro detail. So I
love it.
guess something that's just something accessible. Like I'm always going to have to breathe. So it's like breath and then
Well, the
out.
breath is always in the current
Um,
moment as well. That is, the breath is never in the future or the past. The breath is here. Yeah,
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 exactly.
yeah. Great strategy. So, if somebody was watching your life unfold in the movie theater, they're sitting there,
Who's
they're
going to play
watching
me?
you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yep. So somebody, there's no one else on this call. Talking to me, bud. If somebody
Need
was
someone to
watching your
play me.
life,
That's
yeah, it was no, no one's playing you. Was watching your life unfold in the movie theater. What would they be shouting at you to do right now? Not right now, as in on this call, but at this stage of your life.
oh, that's such a good question. Mm, I'd probably just get after it. Stop waiting for someone to tell you to get after it, I suppose,
Mm.
which is kind of meta because they're telling me to get after it. But yeah, I think that's the big thing. Come
That's
from in
fantastic.
within. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
get after it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, because yeah, I feel like again, what's easy? Being passive, waiting for permission, waiting for someone to tell you good, someone to, yeah,
Now,
yeah,
I've
doing
worked with
all.
you for many years, and I recall that as being a pretty standard approach for feedback for you back in the day. Yeah. So, what was the biggest belief about yourself that you've had to overcome?
Uh, Biggest belief. Oh, so many, and now I've drawn blank. Um, I suppose, yeah, just that I am capable. So the belief would be that I need to overcome is that I'm only capable when, the conditions are right, or I've done enough practice, or I've done enough work with you, Dave, or I've equipped myself well enough. So I guess the belief is like, yeah, that I am capable and the work that I've done to date. Yeah, that it's good and it's been worth the time. Because I do have fears that, I not that it's a waste of time, but just, what's it all for? And I suppose in any element of life that question comes up for people. But yeah, just knowing that I'm capable and already and the time's been well invested, I suppose. Yeah.
So, what
And
did
it
you need to
always
do to sorry, you go.
oh no, that's it. Yeah.
What was the last words?
Just that, always will be like,
Yep.
it's yeah, a value thing, inherent
Okay.
value thing.
So, what did you need to do to use the word overcome again to overcome that belief?
Yeah. Stop looking externally,
Mm.
um, and seeking it in other people. And yeah, I think that yeah, that was the biggest thing, just not tying myself to the external validation or the good feedback or even the bad feedback. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. And I'm sure there's more progression to that, but that's definitely the first start. Yeah.
Mm. Right. So then I've only got a couple more questions for you, but given that shift from external to internal, what do you say to yourself when you are in the hurt locker?
Yeah, when I am in the hurt locker, I just know the only way to get through it is through it. So I just go, well, if I stick with this, lean in. I often say like lean in, whether that's between, say it's something that allows that space, but if, I can't verbally say lean in, then I'm like lean in because like this again, I think is where there's the most maximum presence, the most growth, the the most is revealed about me, about my teammates, about our connection. So I know that the the hardness and the hurt locker, as you put it, that's where the magic happens and the most growth within myself and then also between my teammates. Like, I guess the biggest thing is like I love team sports and I've always been drawn to team sports because yeah, there's something beautiful about collective, the shared collective pain and the memories you make from that. So yeah, I just say like lean
Yeah.
in and yeah, the only way through it is through it. And then if I feel like it's something with an exact outcome that, it's where it's going to be it's going to ask a lot of me. We have to score a lot of points, or I have to run a lot faster to get that time, or whatever. Then I go, well, what if I do? So that's something I've sort of heard someone say recently, like, what if I do, rather than
Mm,
going, oh, it's a bit too far, or not today, or we're not going to get 20 points in 10 minutes or whatever. You go, oh, what if we did? So like, it's not something I dwell on, but I think I'm like, oh, I like that. Like that's something that in that moment it then makes you task focus, and task focus is
yeah.
flow. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. There's a couple of things there. One, the collective suffering, which I did a lot of my training, not like there's actual certification training through a place called Jim Jones, and it's changed over the years compared to when I first came across it. But they had a big thing around suffering for a long period of time. And then it's interesting working in the fitness industry for as long as I have and how people can sometimes treat it like suffering. But it was this relationship with suffering is quite interesting and something that came online for me a little while ago. And then I kind of left it because I didn't really align with it, but I think I've grown through it again. Is this idea that I used to think suffering was what the weak did. And then I realized it's what the weak avoid. And, it's really, you got to unpack what suffering means in that context. But when a collective suffers together, then there's an opportunity for strength together, which is profound. And sometimes they need a person to take the lead of that suffering as well, to show the way. There was also something you mentioned at the start with a Bronco, and you said just hang on. Does that come up for you? Like you running it right? Besides the fact, which this is the fucking key. You said that's where the magic happens. And so a mixture of you knowing that's where the magic happens, which probably to me speaks to being one of the core driving principles. And then things such as just hang on and what if I do? Is that the type of language and the type of self talk that drives you to push through the hard?
Yeah. I think it is. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, in short, for sure. And knowing that just that's probably 99% of it is just staying in it and yeah, staying in the fight and staying committed, consistent.
Yeah.
Similar to I forget who you said it to, but no, being an old mother trucker that held on when everyone else didn't,
CT
that kind of
Fletcher.
thing.
Yeah. CT Fletcher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you
Yeah, I
think you
like
are who you are and got to where you are today? I'm just an old motherfucker that held on when everyone else let go. Yeah. So sounds like you at the
yeah.
Tigers at the moment. Anyway, I have one last question for you, Claude. Um, if you were to step into the future, into 40-year-old Claudia, what advice would she give you today?
They're all good questions. Um, Gosh, I guess it would be like just show up more as yourself in every chance you get. Yeah, I guess there's yeah, there's so much more that I guess there's more connections to be made and more depths to be had in all the moments if I was to just be absolutely myself in every moment that I could. And that would then lend itself to, yeah, living a good life, I suppose. Yeah, yeah.
Love it. Claudia,
Mm,
you're an absolute gem.
you're a gem.
Thank you for today.
Thanks.
Is there anything else that comes to mind that you think would be beneficial to add what you've already contributed to?
I suppose with an element of contribution that I had thought of, and something that I would like to embed, I maybe as a 40-year-old me as well, is that I know like the best mentors and people that have changed my life gave me the opportunity without it being on behalf of anything else but come along if you love what I'm offering. So, for example, like all the work you do, and then other mentors that I've had, like a really great hockey coach back in Tamworth. Like he was the start of it all, I believe, the journey. And he used to run extra sessions, come down, we're going to do running Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're going to do some skills. And that wasn't behalf of Claudia's got potential, and I'm going to make sure that I make her live to her potential. It was literally just, this is what's going on. This is the activity we're doing. Happen to be sport, happen to be hockey, but come along. I'll facilitate it for you if you show up. And yeah, I just think that's a really beautiful thing. And like, um, I would love to do that for other people. And I believe that's what you do when you give out like all your free content and all the wisdom you give out. It's literally saying to people, it's yours if you want it, and it's not because you're more special, less special than anyone else. It's just something that, yeah, if it's what you enjoy, have it, consume it, do more with it, practice your craft. So, yeah,
Yep.
that would be the only thing I'd like to add,
To accept the invite.
except the invite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love it. Claude, thank you very much for your time. That's awesome. Um, you are on the roster and hopefully starting in just a couple of weeks, I believe.
Yep. 3 weeks, I think. Something like
So
that.
yeah, indeed. All the best for this season. I look forward. I'm hoping to be able to get to one of your games and bring little Sophia along. So
I'll
she's
get her
already
some
been to a
Tigers
cricket game.
merch.
Yeah, for sure. That's fine. She can be a little tiger. She does. We have cats where we're at the moment, and she looks at the cats and goes, she does this weird little meow, which is very cute. She's nearly 11 months old. And we're like, yes, cat. And she goes, dog. Okay, dog it is. So yeah. Claude, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing your growth. I look forward to seeing your season and all the best.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.